This is Joe Scarborough reacting to the polling, and I want you to pay attention to Joe Scarborough's body language because I was watching it. Because I want you guys don't watch this like I do. So for the last year, at least, especially since the midterms, remember when they say Republicans quote unquote underperformed in the midterms, even though I don't know why Democrats would be happy about losing the popular vote to the fucking fascist Republicans. But according to Morning Joe, this was a great thing for Democrats, horrible thing for Republicans. Ever since the midterms, this boy Joe Scarborough been out here talking shit every goddamn day. Like, Republicans, this is why you lose. Trump never gonna beat Biden. In fact, I hope Trump is the nominee. Biden gonna destroy him. This poll comes out, watch his body language. This motherfucker knows his audience gonna realize he was lying to them. Well, anyway, that's my free face.
Hey, you know, George Stephanopoulos on that this week. You know, on camera, he says, "I don't believe this poll." He said that on camera. All right, here's Morning Joe. What I need to
announced his re-election campaign. Polling shows President Joe Biden's approval rating has hit a new low. In the latest Washington Post to ABC News survey, 37% of registered voters say they approve of the president's job performance, his lowest figure for that poll since returning to office. But there are also some troubling numbers for Biden's most likely opponent in the 2024 general election, Donald Trump. In the survey, more than half of all voters say Trump should face criminal charges.
Now, let me say this point, because this is a point that liberal progressive media does all the time. When they have to talk about something bad about Biden, they literally the next sentence will bring in a Trump something, something, because the poll is mainly about, or the poll, what they should be talking about is all the bad stuff about Biden first, and then maybe get to Trump later. But they've been throughout this whole episode, even before here, they bring up bad stuff about Trump and insert more stuff, and immediately after they say something about Biden, they have to say something good about or bad about Trump. But back to the video, let's listen to the clip of Morning Joe.
For his alleged efforts to overturn the 2020 election, his role in the January 6th insurrection, and for his alleged mishandling of classified documents after leaving the White House.
Quick pause.
Despite this, the survey showed...
If you are a liberal, imagine you're a liberal, and you've been telling the American people that this guy is the most dangerous man in the history of the United States government. This guy is single-handedly responsible for destroying U.S. democracy. But this is what they got him on. If you look, let's say Donald Trump is guilty for all three of those things in the most exaggerated way that a liberal would tell you he's guilty of. These things pale in comparison to what Jim Crow Joe has done, Benjamin Netanyahu has done. All three of those things is not as bad as the things as the Patriot Act, the Iraq War, supporting the Ukraine War, the counter genocides.
This is 1994 crime bill.
I do not like Trump either. I didn't have a platform back then, but when Trump was first elected, I was on this motherfucker because I was like, yo, he lied about everything. He's just like Barack Obama. And I was telling Trumpers, like, this motherfucker is doing all this. He said he's going to renounce Saudi Arabia. He became a giant Saudi Arabia bootlicker. He said he became an extreme Russia war hawk, arming Ukrainian rebels, increasing sanctions on Russia, like all these things. I was like, bro, this guy is fucking horrible. So if I had Trump-Reagan syndrome, and this is what I want to do as someone who's a member of the left, I would want to get Trump on war crimes. I would want to get Trump on the emolument clause, something corruption, real hardcore corruption, war criminal shit. But they can't do it because that will implicate the Democratic Party.
Them, yeah.
But you guys are really satisfied getting Donald Trump on a classified documents case? That's how you want to get Trump, the biggest criminal ever. Like getting Al Capone on tax evasion. Big energy. But anyway, go ahead, CJ. We can continue.
Charges for his alleged efforts to overturn the 2020 election, his role in the January 6th insurrection, and for his alleged mishandling of classified documents after leaving the White House. Despite this, The survey shows Trump leading
Despite
Biden by
this.
6 points in a 2020.
That code. Why are you saying despite this?
Ah.
Why are you saying despite this? Like, why aren't you saying it in that sort of way when you're talking about Joe Biden? Inflation is this high, prices are this high, and this and this. Despite this, his polling is still in the 40. Like, why didn't you say it that way then? It's sort of like saying, out of all the things we've been trying to do to persuade all of you guys, despite that, this guy is still winning. It's sort of an admittance.
The rematch 45% to 39%.
Well, I'm not good math, and I'm going to prove it again. But it seems to me
This is the funny part. 'Cause this is when you see Warren Joe Cope instead of analysis
Charlie
on why
Sykes,
Joe Biden is so unpopular.
if
here it is.
55
Shows Trump leading Biden by 6 points in a 2020 rematch, 45% to 39%.
Well, I'm not good math, and I'm going to prove it again. But it seems to me, Charlie Sykes, if 55% of Americans think Donald Trump should be indicted and sent to jail, I understand why Democrats are worried about Joe Biden's numbers. They should be worried that they are low. At the same time, if 55% of Americans think he should be indicted and face criminal charges, and only 39 don't, maybe that's why he's sitting at 45%. There's not a real upside to Donald Trump. So Republicans understand this.
Brain is
why
malfunctioning. This boy is malfunctioning live right now. No, he reads a poll that shows Trump up 6 points. And I saw someone mention how this is like one of the worst polls a sitting president ever had since like Harry S. Truman. Historically bad polls. And Joe Scarborough brain completely malfunctions. He's like, wait. Well, 55%. Y'all trying to be prosecuted. So wait, Joe, listen. Just because 55% of Americans want Trump to be prosecuted do not mean Biden's going to get more votes than Donald Trump. Those things are not related at all.
Nick, on all the mornings, on all the talk shows, this is the very point every single one brings up. This is the point that George Stephanopoulos says, this is the reason why I don't believe that other poll. It doesn't make sense. How can you want somebody to be arrested and go to jail? He added the go to jail part, which is not in the poll. How can you want somebody to go be arrested and then you want him to go be president? He was like, this doesn't make any sense.
They can't wrap their mind around that the American people treat all of them as criminals.
This is so funny.
But let's continue because the meltdown continues. There's a lot more we're going to add here later anyway.
Oh, man.
Now, everywhere I go, everybody's also panicked about Joe Biden. So I just wonder, Charlie, everybody keeps saying this looks like the race we're going to have. And I just have to ask right now, is it?
Yeah, I'm afraid so. I'm afraid that we are stuck with this. And by the way, I think that both parties are right to panic. I think they have reasons to be very, very concerned. Look, I mean, this poll may be an outlier and it may be early, but this also needs to be a wake-up call that this is really possible, that it is possible that Donald Trump could be elected president with all that means and all of the implications of all of that. It also exposes, I think, Joe, and
you know what? It's a feeling of frustration of all the work. Imagine if you did all this work and you didn't have reap anything. So it's like, wow, all the nights I spend up practicing my propaganda lines about this, about January 6th, and you telling me he's up by 6, even outside 2 points off the margin of error. It's like a feeling like, oh my God. So go ahead. You're going to speak.
I don't remember, but it was a live stream maybe a few months ago where we made a point where if you watch a lot of these reporting, they will say like, according to this bullshit poll, 80% of Democrats are concerned about January 6th. And they talk about it and they are so happy because it's almost like an affirmation of their work. Whenever people say that, they think they would be reading these Democrat Party partisan polls, it's an affirmation you're doing your job. So this hurts because this shows that they're losing the narrative war, even after Roe v. Wade. And Joe Scarborough is hoping his boomer audience forgotten everything he said like before him, because this dude, if you have not been watching, especially since the midterms, and especially since Roe. And then because the mass shootings, he also be using that too. He was like, bro, the Republicans are so screwed. They so out touch. He did a segment just recently. You probably saw it too, where he was like, man, people underestimate Joe Biden so much. He is so underestimated as a president. There's no way that Trump, who is so hated, like he was so sure. Now the poll comes out, devastation. We can continue though, because there's a lot to react to.
All right, let's go. All right.
And Mika, I think it exposes the hollow men of the Republican Party who have been so reluctant to actually call out Donald Trump's unfitness, because they've been basing a lot of their critique on the fact that he's unelectable. Well, that whole argument, that Donald Trump can't win, that's kind of being blown up at the.
You realize mid-sentence, Nick, he knew I'm a propagandist. I gotta adjust this truth that's about to seep out of my mouth. He was about to say. You saying him not electable? This poll clearly proves he is still electable. He softened that. He's like, it kind of says, you know what I mean? He had to soften what he was going to say.
Yeah, and now hit that quick rewind button, because I want you guys to see the full framing of this, because he actually going to make a good point on this here. But you see how he blames Republicans? The part where he blames Republicans is a bad point, but you're going to bring a good point after that, and you're going to see here soon. But he said, well, this is the reason why Trump is being Biden, the reason why he's doing so well is the failure of the anti-Trump Republicans. So he's making the argument that the anti-Trump Republicans are not effective. Now, listen to it. Now, the argument is slightly flawed, but I want you guys to see the point he's making. Let's play real quick.
Really possible that it is possible that Donald Trump could be elected president, with all that means and all the implications of all of that. It also exposes, I think, Joe and Mika, I think it exposes the hollow men of the Republican Party who have been so reluctant to actually call out Donald Trump's unfitness, because they've been basing a lot of their critique on the fact that he's unelectable. Well, that whole argument, that Donald Trump can't win, that's kind of being blown up at the moment. So at some point, if we're going to address the reality of the situation, Republicans are going to have to talk about why Donald Trump should not be the nominee and should never be put back into the Oval Office. And I think the Democrats need to wake up.
I'm gonna let it continue. Now, this is actually a very rare moment of and not for the reason he wanted to be, because he exposes the lie they've been telling. Because according to them, all they need is some sort of anti-Trump Republican, and they will stand a better chance than Trump. And they were saying, "Oh my God, Trump!" And the people like McCain, Liz McCain or whatever, I forgot his damn name. The anti-Trump Republicans, their argument has been not critiquing the MAGA policies, because Liz Cheney, I don't know why I said Liz McCain, I'm tripping. Liz Cheney, that's what I was talking about. I was tripping. Liz Cheney and them, they was making this argument, even though Liz Cheney voted with Trump 93% of the time. So Liz Cheney agrees with Trump on policy, but they can't say that. They got to pretend to have this more outrage. So they say stuff like, Trump is harming the Republican Party. It's not that they disagree with Trump. He's harming the party because he doesn't sell our neocon agendas well. So their argument has been, we got to support the Liz Cheneys or the Trump will lose. But this poll completely debunks that. And this talk point has never been true. It's something that they completely made up in liberal circles. But let's continue, because this is a
the reason, Nick, we have to add this, and people may have already assumed this, the reason this particular poll is because it's the Washington Post ABC News. Who's bigger than Bezos and Disney? Like, this is Bezos and Disney's poll coming together. So this is a poll that is to be reported on, that is to be relied on. You get what I'm saying? That the establishment relies on to create strategies from. So this is a poll. This is why it's a freak out, because I'm sure there's many polls that may come out and show something like this. But this poll coming out showing this, Washington Post, ABC News, this is why this is the freak out over all media. Everybody's covering it.
I think, I don't know what segment, maybe this one or maybe the next one, but one of them even mentioned it, one of the MSNBC segments I saw, where they said, one of the analysts was like, this is not even a Trump doctor Republican Fox News poll. This is actually MSNBC poll, so this is why that's a good point. But anyway, we can continue.
Yeah, all right. Let's hit that. Ready?
the craziness and the illegality and the various indictments of Donald Trump are not necessarily automatically going to save us in 2024. No one is coming to save us. This is going to be up to us. I think that people.
Isn't that him admitting that the indictments will save him? That's sort of like admitting that that's the sort of the point of the indictments.
That's what it is.
Is the only way. Yeah, go ahead.
That's such a great point. The reason why I laughed there, I'm sorry to cut it off again, but that is such a fucking tell, man. Like when Democrats say that they're not weaponizing the government, they've been hoping that somehow Trump can get charged and that will stop Trump from winning. And he just fucking says it, bro. He says it the same way that we talk about black liberation. That's another reason why it's funny. I want you to play it again. The same way we talk about black liberation. We like, man, we getting killed by the police. Palestinians are getting genocided. Poor people can't get ahead. No one can save us. There's no one can save us. So when we talk about liberation, they talk about Donald Trump that way. That's why I laugh, because that shit is funny on so many different levels. Let's play that one again.
All right, let's play it.
The moment. So at some point, if we're going to address the reality of the situation, Republicans are going to have to talk about why Donald Trump should not be the nominee and should never be put back into the Oval Office. And I think the Democrats need to wake up that simply the craziness and the illegality and the various indictments of Donald Trump are not necessarily automatically going to save us in 2024. No one is coming to save us. This is going to be up to us. I think that people have been waiting for something to come along, whether it's a media or an indictment, that's going to save us from all of this. And no, it's up to us at this point.
Is this Martin Luther King talking here? Nobody's coming to save us, everybody. This is Malcolm X. Nobody's coming to save us.
Oh my God,
we gotta save ourselves.
Bro, I'm fucking crying, bro. This motherfucker turned to Malcolm X and talk about Trump. That shit, I tell you, man, I watch this as comedy, bro. I can't believe people watch this for news. Like, this shit is funny. Like, this shit not funny to y'all. Anyway, let's keep going.
Oh man.
It really is. And Charlie, in your latest article in The Atlantic entitled America's Lowest Standard, you really,
I meant to bring this up because this article may dive into some more nonsense cringe. Maybe we'll report on it later, but I do want to bring that up. America's Lowest Standard. That might, just off the title, I'm just assuming that has to mean the American standard. We're bringing our standard down. We're bringing the presidency down by lowering the standard and bringing this guy back to office. That's what he's trying to do. What I assume. Back to the video.
Crystallize the situation. You write in part, the twice impeached, defeated former president has been indicted on multiple felony charges and may face more. He is a chronic liar and a fraudster. He also played a role in fomenting the January 6th insurrection. Trump has called for the suspension of the Constitution and dined with a white supremacist. And he traffics in racist invective and conspiracy theories.
That's a liberal. That's an all-star liberal paragraph right there. You see the two paragraphs right there? This boy hit all the hits. Hits. And how many sentences did he use? He used maybe 5 sentences. It took him 4 sentences to hit all the big liberal talking points. Now, this is why he writes for the Atlantic. This expert level propaganda. You see how seamlessly he goes through the liberal talking points? Some people stumble their way through it. Some people are unsure. No, this motherfucker is 100% confident. And he got this shit down packed. This is the liberal Twitter bullshit here. And now liberals wonder why aren't you guys outraged that there's a twice impeached president who was indicted running for office? And what they don't understand is that we do not respect nor give legitimacy towards the weaponization of the United States government.
Right.
If this was not political and that no one's above the law, they will go after George W. Bush. But they don't go after George W. Bush because he's a Democratic Party ally. And also, most importantly, he's no longer a threat. If George W. Bush was talking about running for Senate, and let's create an alternate reality, right? Let's create a reality where he wanted to run for senator and he was somewhat popular. Like that's why that would never happen because he was too unpopular. But let's create that alternate reality. If that happened, they 100% would have went after him. But he's not a threat. He retired. He painted pictures of new women or some shit, right? So he's not a threat. So that's why they don't go after him. Anyway, let's continue the video. There's a lot more.
But this is also a list of their work, Nick.
Yep.
Twice impeached. Like, this is a list. This is them recalling January 6th. Multiple felony charges. Like, this is their work. It's not working. And
he's
this
a
is like
chronic liar.
Yeah.
He's a chronic liar and a fraudster, unlike Joe Biden, who we know had the utmost integrity. Unlike Nancy Pelosi, who has the utmost integrity. Who they think they fooling? Let's continue.
And that's the thing. It's not that he's not a bad person. It's just that you guys aren't any better. Like, you guys aren't any better, so we're not going off your word. So that's sort of what it means. And it goes on. He says he wants to suspend the Constitution, but this part, when I was listening to this segment, Nick, and they said dine with white supremacies, I was like, and what's your point? Isn't that sort of an American tradition? I don't get the point.
They all white supremacists, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Also, let's announce it. Let's decolonize our mind and let's break the liberal bubble. Right? Look, Trump has called for the suspension of the Constitution. I am asking you guys what that means. I'm asking you guys what does that literally mean in terms of politics? Because I can tell you what it means to actually do that. Let's say you was prosecuting journalists. I don't know, someone like Julian Assange, for example. Let's say you try to create a precedent where the police can disarm people without probable cause, which the Supreme Court struck down. You guys know that? The right-wing fascist Supreme Court saw what Joe Biden was trying to do. They said, what? No, nigga, we can't do that. That's way too aggressive. And so what was happening was, the police was disarming poor people and black people, even though they wasn't being charged with a crime. Civil asset forfeiture via guns. But liberals support that. The Biden administration was fighting for this, and they lost at the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court cited that was a direct violation, not only the Fourth Amendment, that's a violation of the Second Amendment as well. So let me rephrase this sentence to you. So isn't that Biden calling for the suspension of the Constitution? That's him attacking the First Amendment because he's attacking Julian Assange, the Second Amendment because he's trying to disarm black activists and the black community using the police, and the Fourth Amendment, which the United States violates all the time with the Patriot Act. That's it. The Fourth Amendment at any given time stays violated. You guys know that, right? So, but in this article, in this liberal media, Trump is the only threat to the Constitution. Decolonize your mind. Do not listen to liberals say that. Both parties don't give a shit about the Bill of Rights and they stay in the Constitution. Anyone who believes they do, wake the fuck up. That's a childlike view of the world. Right? You know, tell me the fucking tooth fairy is real. What's next? You fucking put milk and cookies out Santa Claus? You do that too? Like, you might as well. Like, if you believe that any of the parties care about this quote unquote Constitution. Which right wingers, they're like, oh my God, we got this amazing Constitution. Other countries do too. You guys know that? Fucking these patriots, oh my God, no, there's no document like the American Constitution. No, nigga, that copied off the Magna Carta, bro. Fucking dumb Americans. And every country got a Constitution, but our Constitution doesn't apply. But people are still patriotic to this fucking country. Get the fuck out of here. That's a side rant. Let's continue.
Side rant.
Supremacist, and he traffics in racist invective and conspiracy theories. You continue. Hamilton thought he had fireproofed the presidency from mountebanks and charlatans because we would seek out only the best and the brightest among us. Instead, we have apparently saved our lowest standards for the presidency. After the release of the Access Hollywood tape, the GOP decided that character did not, after all.
Liberals really believe this shit, but let's continue.
But you see, he goes on to list the laundry list more. They're complaining that it's not working as they're trying to propagandize people at the same time in the story. It's so bizarre that their work isn't working, but they continue to do it.
All matter. 7 years later, neither the indictments or for paying for hush money to a porn star, nor the accusations of assault and rape are disqualifying for Republican voters. In the 2024 contest for the presidency.
I mean, was Tara Reid disqualifying for Democratic voters?
Exactly.
Like, what is this? Like,
oh, and it's going to be very interesting and very funny because I've already seen a few segments. One I was about to do a segment on, but I have time because you have this rape trial from Trump coming up. It's gonna be hilarious, guys, because there was this person that was like, I don't remember what show. I'm gonna do a segment on it later because it was on MSNBC. This like liberal feminist activist. She was like, man, people don't understand the trauma that women face, knowing that the American people approve of this person who's convicted of rape, who's accused of rape. Meanwhile, I'm like, do you know the fuck Tara Reid is? These people are disgusting. These liberal feminists are the most disgusting people in this country. Because they're like, yeah, we care about this rape victim, but not this rape victim because she don't agree with me politically. The most morally reprehensible people in this country are the liberal feminists who voted for Joe Biden. Also, white liberal feminists have a history of being racist, but that's a conversation for another day. And let's continue.
See, they hardly even register. And if you look at that deposition tape for the E. Jean Carroll case, he's asked about what he said on the Access Hollywood tape.
Well,
I mean,
let's take a listen to it.
You see, this is why this is what makes them cope worse, guys. If you're coping with news, you don't relive it. But this is what they're doing in this segment. They're going through their evidence that their propaganda evidence, and they're going, how is this not effective? And they're reliving it. And that's what they're doing with this part here as they play this segment of his deposition.
Play it for a second and listen to the part where he says, maybe it's not a bad thing that people like Trump are able to sexually assault women. Listen.
And you say, and again, this has become very famous in this video, I just start kissing them. It's like a magnet, just kiss. I don't even wait. And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything. Grab them by the you can do anything. That's what you said, correct?
Well, historically, that's true with stars.
It's true with stars that they can grab women by the
well.
He's turning red, like even more. You could see it in his face that he's upset or being embarrassed or that he said it or being confronted, whatever the case, whatever the description you pick. But he's turning even more orange or red than he is already. Go ahead, Nick.
That video is definitely embarrassing for a politician, for any politician to have a video like that come out. That's definitely embarrassing. But am I the only one tired of the liberal framing of this video? They keep pretending, and this has been driving me crazy since this shit started. They keep pretending Trump is saying that he goes up and fucking just grab women by their vagina. That is not what he's saying at all. He's saying when you're rich and famous, women like rich and famous men to the point where they allow him to. Like almost like rich, like you know how women assess on celebrity and they like allow him to do whatever. That may be wrong, and that's embarrassing thing to say as a politician, but that is not what they claim he is saying. They claim that Trump say he go around just raping women. That is not the quote, guys. The quote is him saying, when you're rich and famous, women like you so much you can essentially do anything to them. And he used grab them by a pussy as a metaphor. It was a funny, inappropriate metaphor. Like, they love you so much, they let you grab you by the pussy. Like, he did not say he going around grabbing women like that. He may have, but that is not the quote. But they, for years, been representing this quote as Trump endorsing rape. That is not what the quote says. It's a blatant lie by the liberal media. And they're
still doing it here.
And this is the kind of stuff that makes it harder to resist Trump, guys. Because when you have liberals that can't find any other way to attack this insane war criminal, so they lie about him, then people who are not well informed as us, they will see this lie. They're like, oh man, what else are they lying about Trump on? They must be lying about everything. So when you do this shit, it hurts the resistance against fascism, Republican fascism. We have harsh, legitimate critiques, but when you lie about stuff like this, and people see it, it helps the right. But anyway, you guys get it.
But the reason they can't is because they are also guilty of some of those same crimes. This is the problem. Like, that's why they will never go after that. This is almost like a circular sort of thing. Just a circular sort of thing that we'll never get out of, or this understanding of this particular part. Let's get back to the video here, and I'll go back 15 seconds for context.
Just kiss. I don't even wait. And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything. Grab them by the you can do anything. That's what you said, correct?
Well, historically, that's true with stars.
It's true with stars. That
You
they
see
can
how the
grab
quote is
women by
like
the-
not a joke?
It's,
You see how,
if you
listen to how plainly she read the quote. And I want to be quicker. You go, I want you to listen how she reads the quote. She reads it as if this motherfucker is reading the dictionary. He doing a statement. He giving a presidential address. Like, no, it was a joke. Like, even if it was tape, it was obviously a joke. Once again, something that a politician should be embarrassed by, something that should hurt a politician. We all can agree to that, right? We all agree that it's kind of tasteless. But when she, and I'm gonna let it play again, she reads it as if he's saying a statement. Listen to it.
Yeah, like as if he's making a declaration or something about this.
No, and when
this
you
is my
say
this
it
is my
obvious.
decree.
Yeah, listen to it. Listen how she frame it.
People like Trump are able to sexually assault women. Listen.
And you say, and again, this has become very famous in this video, I just start kissing them. It's like a magnet. Just kiss. I don't even wait. And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything. Grab them by the
monotone she
you
reading
can do
that?
anything. That's what you said, correct?
Well,
Look, it
historically,
almost
that's
when
true
the
with
way she read it, it almost like he's doing a confession. Like, yeah, this like it's not a joke. Like, that's completely not the context to say those quotes. But anyway, let's continue. I just want to make that point.
stars.
It's true with stars that they can grab women by the
Well, that's what it's. If you look over the last million years, I guess that's been largely true. Not always, but largely true. Unfortunately,
That's dumb. Trump, why the fuck would Trump say that? That's dumb. That's dumb. But why would Trump say that? But it's that's one of the things that hurts a politician. But the framing from the liberals is still like Trump could easily say, "Well, I would do it. That would make more sense." What he says there is ridiculous. Why would you say that? Like, I'm like, why would you say like it actually is true that women? No, you don't say that, Trump. Why the fuck would you say that? Anyway, let's continue. Why the fuck would you say that? It almost like Trump by the framing of
to be a
it.
star.
It almost like Trump buys their framing of
I think
it.
you can say that. Yeah.
Yeah, so he takes what he said with Access Hollywood, and Elise, he says, well, maybe it's a good thing. He says, unfortunately, or fortunately, maybe, it's a good thing that he can sexually assault women because he's a, quote, star.
Now,
He
how many
said
stars? Now, once again, this is not an offensive quote. How many stars have been caught assaulting people and groping and doing sexually inappropriate stuff with women because they've been trained today? They can get away with that. So Trump, you can say this is Trump admitting he does it too, which is bad because it's not a defense of Trump. But this is Trump making a general statement that when people are famous as fuck, they grab women by the pussy, like when Joe Biden reached up Tara Reid's skirt. He thought he can get away with it because when you rich and famous. That is not an offensive quote. That is him saying the truth that rich, powerful men are demented and they believe they can do whatever they want. Somehow they took this quote, which already made Trump look bad, and they lie about it. They say that Trump is endorsing rape. That is not what he's doing. But anyway, let's continue.
Yeah.
I don't want to labor that point too much. Let's continue.
Yeah. And what we have to understand is, Nick, this is a segment about how bad Joe Biden is polling, but somehow we're on this.
Yeah, they had to make sure to bring that up.
evangelicals. He said that Republican voters. He said in 2023, maybe it's a good thing that he, Donald Trump, can sexually assault women even when they're not expecting it.
That's
or
not what
want
he
it.
said.
I just started laughing out of pure disgust. And I looked over at the Rev and was just like, what is he, a caveman? Saying men have done this for 1,000,000 years. So why not just keep going forward with it? I mean, that showed such an absolute lack of remorse and no growth whatsoever, which I think is kind of par for the course with Donald Trump and what we need to expect and brace ourselves for over this campaign cycle.
So
this is why it is,
before
you
Mickey
know,
chimes in,
it,
last time I checked, and this is the point you just made, wasn't you guys talking about the poll numbers? How fuck you guys switch from that to also like, man, it's crazy that people support this rapist over our rapist. Anyway, let's continue.
it is very, very complicated moving forward covering this nominee who is now indicted and is seen on a deposition. I mean, along with all the things that Charlie listed in his piece, and that doesn't cover everything, but this is a man who talks about in his deposition his type and how E. Jean Carroll was not his type. So therefore he wouldn't rape her? I'm confused.
He confused her for his wife.
He confused her for his wife in the pictures, and then in a flash of anger tells the attorney who is deposing him, "You're not my type either. You're a disgrace." I mean, it's just, this is your guy.
This is the evangelical choice.
This is your guy.
This is the Republican Party's choice. And by the way, you'll
This is vote shaming on the Republican side is what they're doing right now, Nick. They're trying to shame these. They're trying to shame these voters. But to your point about Joe Scarborough's body language, this is completely like out of character for him not to be a little more animated. You can tell that the story, the actual substance of the story, is depressing. Like the work that he's done in talking to the ruling class and trying to quell their fears about Donald Trump has not worked. And he's having to.
And that's a good point. Because if you watch the show enough, you see Joe. There's a reason why he got that position. He got pep in his step. He always got a lot of energy. Yeah. Now, like, it's such a clear difference here. This is such an L for him. Let's continue.
People are going to look back, and they look back on Bull Connor and they go, "How did that happen?" They're going to look back on Texas and the guns and the gunfire. They're going to look back on Donald Trump. They're going to look back on the heinousness and the racism and the white supremacy and everything else. And they're going to look back at the voters and say, "Now, why did these people allow Bull Connor to continue to be police chief in Birmingham? Why did they allow Donald Trump, when he bragged about in 2016, or the tape came out in 2016 and again in 2023, that maybe he had the right to sexually assault and abuse women?" And he's a front runner.
That's not what he said. That's not what he said.
That's
55% of Americans.
Now he's going to go to the black voice in this, Nick. And that is represented by Al Sharpton. That's represented by Al Sharpton.
I think that Donald Trump should be indicted. We're all looking at Joe Biden's low numbers, and we should. Democrats should. They're freaked out. They should be freaked out. But Republicans, they got a candidate that's got 55% of Americans thinking that he should be indicted, arrested, and sent to jail because of January 6th, because he tried to rig the election, and because the classified documents that he refused to return to the United States government. That ain't holding that's not, nobody's sitting in the Republican Party at the table holding four aces there either.
No, what is alarming, if not frightening, is that 55% of Americans feel that he should be indicted and prosecuted. Yet there's no movement in the Republican Party to really deal with stopping him, and you can't come up with a candidate.
Why would they do that, sir, if he is leading the poll?
For the sake of democracy, Nick. For the sake of democracy. In order to save democracy, do this, Nick.
I know we got inside traders in our group, like Nancy Pelosi. We got some of the most corrupt criminals in our party, but they want Republicans to do something that they would never do. They want him to oust the person who's a leading candidate as a presidential race. So he then takes the number where Trump is winning, and then he turns like, "Oh my God, don't Republicans see that 55% of Americans want him prosecuted? Why don't they get rid of him? Why would they give a fuck what these shit lists think?" They don't have to set your frame, and they realize that, right? But we can continue, CJ.
Yeah.
Is announced or expected to announce that will take him on. So we're going from what you quoted Hamilton saying the best and the brightest will run for president to the slickest and the sickest, because this guy is sick.
It's always been the slickest and the sickest. Have you heard of Bill Clinton? Have you heard of Ronald Reagan? it's always been the slickest and the sickest. And what is, I don't know if it's interesting or the right word to use to describe, but it's now hearing a lot of corporate media, like the PMC class, use the language that we use about both parties just to use it on the Republican Party and Donald Trump. Like these words that they're using, we would label that on both parties, the uniparty. But they're trying to make it seem like it's just one party. But it's still interesting that we're at least hearing them say that in public.
To say that we go back 1,000,000 years and this is how it was done. I mean, this is real madness for someone to openly on a deposition. Let's remember now, he's under oath knowing he's being taped. And for him to say this an hour to even entertain that this man should be the leader of the Western world, and his own party won't stand up to it.
His own party won't save us. You guys know how pathetic this sounds to any normal person who's not a Democrat? So they show a poll where Biden is losing to Trump, and now Al Sharpton and Joe Scarborough said, "Oh my God, why won't the Republicans save us? Oh my God, why won't you guys deny him the nomination? Dude, why won't you guys do the thing we did? We saved y'all from Bernie, save us from Trump. Y'all owe us one." Look how pathetic this is.
That is what they did. We saved y'all from Bernie.
Opposition to bail you out. You're bailing the opposition to bail you out. This is pathetic.
All right, I fast forward a little
Maybe like I'm a combat sport fan. Sorry, so y'all passed to you. But maybe a combat sport fan. You're in a tournament. You did well. You won the first 2 tournaments, and then all of a sudden you see fucking John Jones. John Jones is in the finals against you, and then you go to Dana White. You're like, Dana White, do something about this motherfucker. Can't beat that motherfucker. You know he got DUI. You know John Jones got DUI. Do something about that. What were they doing? Anyway, let's continue.
I fast forward a little bit to get to another polling update here. They're going to show.
Jonathan, every time Donald Trump says witch hunt, you look at this poll and you know the majority of Americans say no. 55% say you need to get arrested and go to jail for what you did in trying to overturn the election. 54% say no, not a witch hunt. You need to be arrested, indicted, arrested, and sent to jail for what you did in relationship to the January 6th
I'll say it one more time. I'm going to say this one more time. I want to continue. 55% of voters wanting Trump to be indicted has nothing to do with the fact that Joe Biden is scheduled to get less votes than Trump. Those things, both things can exist at the same time. You can have 55% of people that want Trump to be arrested, but Trump will still get more victories. Like, how is this a hard thing for these people to understand? Let's continue.
It's a hard thing for them, but what I do want to bring up, as this could be a little short little propaganda report segment. You notice, Nick, in this segment. Now, because we brought it up. Now, this segment is about polling. Why do they keep doing that? Because this is propaganda. This is not about information. This is about convincing and changing minds. Now, you notice it's not a like they don't have any other graphics to show. Why they keep bringing up this graphic and not the other poll? You notice they showed the other poll of him beating him by 7 points only once, but they keep showing this poll.
Yeah,
absolutely. They keep showing this. They keep the visual is to show this. The visual is to show this. This is how they're trying to get across the message, and they're not even talking about the polling. And they're talking about events that happened long time ago. It's all about trying to convince people. Go ahead, Nick.
And you see the framing is one, why won't the Republicans save us? Second framing is 55% of American people want Trump to be indicted. But why don't you guys ever bring in the fact that despite the fact that Americans hate Trump as much as they do, he's still doing better than Biden? So why aren't you asking the question, what is Biden and the Democratic Party doing wrong that make them so unappealing they're losing to a guy that 55% of Americans think should go to prison? You know, that question never comes up. Joe Scarborough, who is a Xi Jinping critic, professional critic of Vladimir Putin. He will tell you exactly what Putin did wrong, which is, according to him, costing them the war, right? You can do all these now. Like Russia and China, they actually hurt themselves long term. So you can do all those analysis over Xi Jinping and the fall and what Putin is doing wrong. But no analysis over Biden. No analysis of what he did wrong to make him lose so much support of people. None at all. Coming from our quote-unquote news organizations. Let's continue.
54%. And the classified documents case, lying to the feds, obstructing justice, 53% say yes. And look at that, 39%. Only not even 4 out of 10, Jonathan, not even 4 out of 10 would tell a pollster that he should not be arrested, should not be indicted, should not go to jail. I mean, I'm sorry, if you're a Democrat or you're a Republican, Biden's behind right now in this one poll.
This boy is all over the place.
I look at these Trump numbers, and I can't tell you about Joe Biden and his future. I can tell you I'm still where I've always been with Donald Trump. He can't win the suburbs.
I want to complain, but you guys see, I can't tell you about Joe Biden. Not my job. I'm not going to say anything. Are you still? You can't say anything about Joe Biden. Nothing that you can think of that might come to mind on why he's struggling right now. Nothing you can say, Joe. Really? Cat got your tongue or something? Like, what the fuck? What kind of devil is that? I know we got two candidates for election. We got two people that's running to be president of the United States. Can't say something about one of the other ones, though. What?
I never see him stutter so much right here. Watch.
This boy is in a shambles. Guys, I know a lot of you guys don't watch like this, but this boy is never like this. This boy is in shambles. He can't even figure out the day. He's all over the place. He was just talking about the Trump numbers, and also he started bringing up the polling. Like, he's all over the place in a way I've never seen it. Like, we rank propagandists. Like, we show you guys the DNC Gen Z people. They are amateurs. David Pacman is amateur compared to Joe Scarborough. This is like a rare moment where Joe Scarborough is pulling up David Pacman. He doesn't look good here. Like, and when I say that, I'm taking myself out of my body. I'm taking myself out of my experience. I am thinking how a liberal boomer will watch this shit. You know what I mean? I don't even think they think he sounds convincing right now. But let's continue.
It's a very Biden-friendly scenario.
I look at these Trump numbers, and I can't tell you about Joe Biden and his future. I can tell you I'm still where I've always been with Donald Trump. He can't win the suburbs of Atlanta. He can't win the suburbs of Philly. He can't win the suburbs of Milwaukee. He can't win the suburbs of Detroit, which means he can't win the White House. So the question is, are the Republicans are they going to stay with this guy that the majority of Americans think?
Unbelievable. I didn't get this far into it, apparently.
Pure cope. Pure cope.
Anyway,
this is at the end, too. This is at the end, too. I think they're about to end like in seconds.
Yeah, we can keep playing. I think I got a lot of my analysis out of the way. We can keep playing.
Should be indicted, arrested, and sent to jail. And a guy who says this year that he has the right to sexually assault women.
You just said that,
are they going to
bro?
try to finally win an election? That's the question.
That is the question. To this point, the answer seems to be they're sticking with Trump with all of that baggage. He's got one indictment under his belt already, and it sure looks like...
This probably be my last point of this segment. And you see them mention this multiple times. They said the Republican Party are sticking with Trump. Why won't the Republican Party do something about Trump? My question is, what are you talking about, sir? I thought we live in a democracy. What do you mean by that? You see how Democrats are like, man, if we have an deplorable like Bernie or someone else running in our party, we do something about them. If there's a socialist running, and there are people that think they're going to run third party like Marianne and RFK, they're not worried about RFK and Marianne because they know the party going to do something about these people. So the authoritarian, fascist, anti-democratic Democratic Party, they're looking at the Republican Party like, why don't you guys just shut down this democracy? What the fuck are you doing allowing them to pick Trump? They're perplexed that the Republican Party allowed that. Showing their fascism just out in the open. So when they say, why don't the Republican Party do something? I'm like, what do you imply that they do? Because the majority of the Republican base, plus the independents that support Trump, want Trump to be the representative on their side. But they are against that. It's almost like they're advocating for superdelegates, right? You guys see the Democratic mindset? You guys see why RFK and Marianne Williamson stand no chance? Because it's something like this. And we see RFK surging, and you see the response of Democrats is canceling democracy. So Joe Scarborough and liberals their mind can't wrap up. They can't wrap their mind around the fact that they just can't do that to Trump, which is extremely telling thing for them to say, and they say it multiple times.